My name is Josh. I'm a developer at Zenatta. This week's implementation of the week, we're going to talk about how to create a dynamic document from your CRM and send that document via fax. The two programs we're going to use for this integration are Formstack Documents, and Phaxio. Phaxio is a fax service which allows you to use API calls to send out fax. And these two programs work very seamless together. There's a delivery service for Phaxio from Formstack. And to let you know, Formstack was formerly known as WebMerge, and now they've acquired WebMerge, and it's now called Formstack. So you might hear me call it WebMerge later on in this video, but just know it's always referring to Formstack Documents. So with this, basically the case study we have is we're working with a pediatric clinic, and they have a bunch of different patients. And with each patient, they could have multiple doctor referrals. So doctors that would like some updates on these patients that they're working with. And they basically have a summary document that they are trying to have dynamically built from the CRM and then delivered to each of the patient referral doctors. So to set this up, you need to first set up a subscription with Formstack and then also a subscription with Phaxio. And once you do that, you begin by starting inside of Formstack Documents. You first create a template document. In this case, we have a PDF, and it's just titled Patient Doctor Referral Summary. And inside this PDF, you first want to make sure you format it properly so that it has form fields, and you might want to pass in hidden variables to then use for the delivery. Inside of the document we've added a bunch of form fields. The name of each form field is going to be the variable name for placing data into. And I'll discuss this later with how we're actually triggering this document. So we've added a bunch of form fields. We've added some multi-select fields or some multiple choice fields. And then we've also added a hidden field called referral fax. Now this is something that needs to be inside the document, but you can tell that the form type is hidden, which means it won't show up on the published document. It'll be there just to pass variable information to store the fax number that it's actually going to be sent to. And then down here we have the return fax number for whenever it gets sent back. This will be the number that you fax back to. So once you have the PDF or the Word doc set up with the appropriate merge tags in the form of a form field, then you can go ahead and upload that document to Formstacks as a new document, and this will act as a template. So when you're inside of one of these documents, you can change some of these settings, such as the output file being a PDF. You could convert it to a JPEG. You can change the file name to be a variable name. And then there's also a few different modes you can test this in. In this case, we have it active because it's actually active, but you could set it up as a test mode for debugging. And whenever you go in to test it, you can see that all of the names of each one of these fields correlate to the name that we titled it inside the document. So referral fax with no space comes up over here as referral fax. And all is the same with each of those fields. So make sure that whenever you're setting up the variables inside or the form fields inside of the PDF, that they do not have spaces, and they are formatted similar to just a regular variable string. So you have it set up as a template. You've identified all of the form fields inside of the document. And then next you want to set up a delivery method. In this case, we've set up a delivery just to email this document to, in this case, me, but you could set this up to be a dynamic email address or a static email address of someone else at the company. And then we also set up a Phaxio integration. So this is where it gets interesting. This is what allows you to send this document, this PDF, to a physical printer using a fax service. And this is only possible using Phaxio at the moment. And with Phaxio, you can set it up so that the fax will be delivered to the fax number that you have assigned inside of the document. There's a few additional settings you can add to here, as you can customize a header text, use a custom caller ID, callback notifications, and you could also delay the delivery or notify of any errors. So there are a few other settings you can play around with in there. Now that we have the document template set up and delivery methods set up, then we can go ahead and set up the trigger inside of the CRM to push the data and to trigger the Formstack documents. And the method I used for our client, we've set up a webhook inside of the CRM to be pushed whenever a checkbox is selected inside of the patient record. And inside of this workflow, we've added a webhook, and this webhook contains all of the information that would be used for the document builder. So any of those fields that would show up inside of the PDF, we want to make sure that we're pulling those fields from the record inside of the CRM. And once we have the webhook set up, now we can do this once you set up the workflow with the webhook, there's a bunch you can do with that. So because we're triggering this on a webhook, we can set up a function so that we're not just triggering it to one person. We could trigger this to multiple people if we had a list of referrals. And that's what I've actually done here is if we're looking at a patient record, I can go in and assign multiple referrals to this one patient. So let's say we assign 2 doctors and we want the fax to go out to each one of these doctors. The way I have it set up is all I have to do is scroll up to a section inside of the patient record and just simply select send fax to referrals. And once I do that, the webhook triggers. The function that I have inside of the workflow will run, and it will trigger a webhook for each referral directory. And that's going to create a separate fax for each referral using the fax number provided. And at the end of that, then we can go into Formstack and we can actually view all of the faxes that have been sent, their statuses, and yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for listening.